In the near future, Cyprus will most likely become a recognized state. Real estate will become even more expensive, and when the budget receives money from the sale of natural gas, the country will transform so much that we simply won't recognize it, just as those who visited Dubai 10, 20 or 30 years ago can't recognize it today. But from time to time, we still continue to receive comments from you saying that it is wrong, illegal and immoral to invite people here to Northern Cyprus. And you compare Northern Cyprus to the temporarily occupied Crimea. You talk to us about some kind of UN decision. In fact, you are referring to 2 UN resolutions, but most likely you don't even know that yourselves. Someone refers to some articles on the websites of the Russian and Ukrainian embassies. By the way, I never actually found these articles, but I believe they exist somewhere and they're also written on this topic. We have answered this question for you many times in various videos. Today we decided to make a separate video to finally put an end to this question, to address all your doubts and objections, so that you no longer have the idea that Northern Cyprus is some kind of illegitimate state and that you shouldn't get involved with it. In general, this is a very strange misconception. And indeed, many people believe that in 1974, Turkey attacked Cyprus, took land from the Greeks, settled Turks there, annexed it to Turkey, destroyed Orthodox churches and turned them into mosques. This idea is indeed being spread, but it has absolutely nothing to do with reality. You can learn about the real situation in any history textbook or on any website on this topic on the internet or in any YouTube video. Cyprus has a very ancient history. Originally, when it was not quite an island yet, when you could still come here from the mainland by land, Cyprus, these lands, were settled by people from what is now Syria and Lebanon, Israel and Palestine. Then came tribes of the Caucasian group. After them came the Minoans. After the Minoans came the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Greeks. After the ancient Greeks, who failed to colonize Cyprus on their first attempt, the Persians came. This is the territory of modern-day Iran. And after the Persians, in 450 BC, before the birth of Christ, the Greeks came again. And gradually, little by little, they displaced the Cypriot language, pushed out the Cypriot culture, and replaced them with the Greek language and Greek culture. After that, Cyprus alternately belonged to the Egyptians, the Roman Empire, the Arabs, the Byzantines, the Templars, the Lusignans, who were French, and the Venetians, who are modern-day Italians. Until in the 16th century, Cyprus was conquered by the Ottoman Empire. And that's how the Turks appeared in Cyprus. So, the idea that the Turks only came in 1974 and occupied something here is completely absurd, delusional, and does not correspond to reality. The Turks appeared in Cyprus in the 16th century AD, and it was the Turks, when they came to Cyprus, who abolished serfdom. They were not afraid of the Greeks. They did not compete with the Greeks. They were afraid of the Europeans. They were afraid of the Catholic Church. So what did they do? They handed over the Catholic monasteries to the Cypriot Orthodox Church, the Greek Church, and they turned the Catholic cathedrals into mosques. And this idea that everything described above happened in 1974 is completely incorrect. All of this actually happened back in the 16th century. If you look, for example, at photographs from the early 20th century, I just haven't seen any from earlier. You can clearly see in these photos of Famagusta and Nicosia, the ancient Catholic cathedrals, which had already been converted into mosques by that time, because they are the tallest buildings both in Famagusta and in Nicosia. By the way, it was at that time that Greeks in Cyprus first received rights and protection. And the Turks, the Ottomans who conquered Cyprus, did not touch Greek lands. They did indeed settle Cyprus en masse with Turkish people, but they did not give them Greek lands. Instead, they gave the Turkish population lands that had previously belonged to the Catholic Church. And in Cyprus, only Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots remained. In addition, there were minorities of Maronites, Armenians and Jews. That essentially was the entire population of Cyprus in the 16th and 17th centuries. It's important for us to understand that it was precisely during the 16th and 17th centuries that Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots gained the right to self-governance. And self-governing bodies were established, which existed separately for Greek Cypriots and separately for Turkish Cypriots. In other words, the division into two communities actually took place in the 16th and 17th centuries, not in 1974 when the island was effectively split, and not in 1983 when the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus was established. It's very important for us to understand this. So this is the story of the 16th and 17th centuries, not the 20th century. The Ottomans ruled Cyprus for 300 years, after which for about 50 years they governed Cyprus together with the British. There was this interesting form of joint rule. And after that, for about 50 years, it was a British colony. In 1959, Cyprus gained independence and became an independent sovereign state in which the constitution guaranteed equal political rights for Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots. That is, in parliament, there were mandatory seats for Greek Cypriots and mandatory seats for Turkish Cypriots. Moreover, the percentage of seats allocated to Turkish Cypriots was actually higher than their proportion of the population on the island. And in government bodies as well, it was mandatory for both Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots to be present. For example, the president had to be a Greek Cypriot, but the vice president had to be a Turkish Cypriot with the right to veto any decision made by the president. And in the army, for some reason, 40% had to be Turkish Cypriots. Along with the adoption of the Constitution of the Republic of Cyprus, an agreement on guarantees was also signed in Switzerland between the Republic of Cyprus, that is, the Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots, as well as mainland Greece, mainland Turkey, and the United Kingdom. This significant agreement clearly stated that Cyprus is indeed a single, unified state. It absolutely cannot be divided into separate parts, and it is strictly prohibited from being joined to any other sovereign state. And if any of the above is violated, then one of the guarantor countries of this agreement has the right, either jointly or individually, to intervene in order to restore the constitutional order as set out in the Constitution and in this agreement on guarantees. The Treaty of Guarantee. We are also leaving a link to the treaty in the description below this video. Moreover, both the link to the Constitution and the link to the Treaty of Guarantee are links to official government websites of Southern Cyprus. So this is not some kind of forgery. You will see by the domain name that this is a government website, and the texts there are in English because at that time it was a British colony and both the Constitution and the Treaty of Guarantee are written in English. The text is very straightforward, not long and not complicated. You will be able to easily read and understand it, see how things really are, and stop believing these rumors and misconceptions. And in general, I always suggest that you trust not rumors and gossip, but turn to the original sources so you can see, know, and understand the real situation. Give a like if you agree with me. But in 1967, there was a military coup in Greece, as a result of which the junta of the Black Colonels came to power. And this junta announced the annexation of Cyprus, and the president of Cyprus, Archbishop Makarios, was overthrown by the Greek junta and forced to flee to London. As you can see, the president was a Greek Cypriot. And yet it was the Greeks who overthrew him, Greeks from mainland Greece. In other words, the aggression came from there, not from Turkey. As a result, in 1974, in order to bring peace to Cyprus and to protect the constitutional order, Turkey, in accordance with the Treaty of Guarantee that we discussed earlier, sent troops into Northern Cyprus to carry out a peacekeeping operation. The active phase of this operation lasted exactly 4 days, and it brought peace to Northern Cyprus. With the mediation of the UN, peace negotiations began between the two communities. As a result of these peace negotiations, the parties, that is, the Greek Cypriots and the Turkish Cypriots, agreed on a federation when the country is one. But within this country, there exists a separate Greek administration and a separate Turkish administration. That is, the Turkish Cypriots did not join Turkey, as the rumors that frighten and confuse you mistakenly claim. They formed a federal republic within the Republic of Cyprus in accordance with agreements with the Turkish Cypriots, in accordance with the UN Security Council's decision, and, by the way, in accordance with the Constitution of the Republic of Cyprus, which is still in effect today. At the same time, the Greek population of Cyprus almost entirely moved to the south of the island, while the Turkish population of Cyprus moved to the north of the island. This is a great tragedy, but otherwise they would not have been able to exist in this new form, where each has its own governing bodies, because before 1974 the population was mixed. Turks, Greeks and Cypriots lived together, and there were no separate enclaves across the island. But unfortunately, Archbishop Makarios, the president of the Republic of Cyprus, who was the initiator and participant in these negotiations, suddenly passed away. And the new president of Cyprus blocked the negotiations and, unilaterally, in violation of the Constitution, the UN Security Council's decision, and the agreements with the Turkish Cypriots, he granted the Greek Cypriots the right to represent the entire territory of the island of Cyprus. In response to this, in 1983, 9 years later by the way, the Turkish Cypriots declared that they were creating their own republic, the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, which to this day is recognized only by Turkey. The United Nations and other countries do not recognize it to this day. At the same time, Turkey, contrary to the decision of the UN Security Council, still maintains a rather large military contingent here in Cyprus. But the Turks say, we will withdraw our contingent as soon as some kind of solution for Cyprus is reached. That's the first point. They are ready to leave a minimal number of armed forces here in Cyprus. But if we read the UN Security Council resolution, we will see that there is no wording stating that the Turks must withdraw their troops from Cyprus. The wording there is that all foreign troops must be withdrawn from Cyprus. And the foreign troops currently present here include UN peacekeepers, Turkish forces, mainland Greek forces, and 2 large British military bases, which occupy 3% of the island's territory. Only Turkey is expected to comply with the resolution. But the resolution refers to all troops. And I am very surprised that there is no reaction at all to the presence of troops from other countries here. No one seems to care about that. But the presence of Turkish troops here is a matter of great concern to everyone. Please write in the comments what you think about this and how something like this is even possible, because the wording is very clear, yet for some reason it has been completely distorted and they're trying to make a scapegoat out of just one side, even though there are actually 4 sides involved here. That's the whole story in brief. As I mentioned earlier, you can easily verify it in any history textbook, on any historical website, on the internet, from any historical video on YouTube, through documents, or from primary sources, links to which we provide in the description of this video. Turks have been living in Cyprus for more than 450 years. Turkish Cypriots, according to the country's constitution, the decision of the UN Security Council, and the Treaty of Guarantee signed when Cyprus became an independent state, have exactly the same equal political rights as Greek Cypriots. This is written in the country's constitution. All that remains is to ensure that these rights are actually upheld. And this whole story that we started our video with, that in 1974, the Turks came to Greek land, occupied the territory, took it over, drove out the Greeks, and now, for the sake of justice, they should go back to Turkey and leave these lands. As you can see, it does not correspond to reality or historical facts at all. In the next 2 videos, I also plan to talk about this in detail. Why no one will ever be able to take away property from foreigners who have purchased it here in Northern Cyprus, because such concerns, fears, and misconceptions do exist. In this video, we will go through this issue in detail, step by step. We will also definitely make a video for you about your misconceptions and fears related to the idea that you might have any problems in life if you connect your life in any way, even as a tourist, with Northern Cyprus. We will also go through each point in detail, and I will answer all these questions. I'm sure it will be interesting and useful. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, subscribe right now. Click the bell so you don't miss this and other interesting videos about Northern Cyprus and Northern Cyprus real estate. And if you want to come to Cyprus and see everything with your own eyes, please leave a request with the text, "I want to receive a certificate for a free stay in Cyprus," and we will send it to you either by email or through any messenger convenient for you. You will be able to come for free and see everything for yourself. The links are in the description and in the pinned comment.